Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow cough sufferers. For tonight's episode, I have decided to show a bit more of the mechanics behind food and hunger. So I set up a little hunger booth here. So when I walk in, my hunger bar disappears, and I have set up a chest full of food. And we will use this to demonstrate how food really works. Now, we all know the meat sticks down here at the bottom. I call them meat sticks. Down here at the lower right, there are 10 of them. They represent 20 levels of food points. Now, in addition to that, there's also two other variables that the game records that you don't see. One of them is a variable called saturation, but essentially it's really just how full are you. And the other one is your exhaustion level, which is built up by your actually performing actions. Now let me step into the hunger booth here, and you can see that, poof, I'm now hungry. And because this is a hard mode server, I'm going to be taking damage every so often, but I set it up so I'll heal and not die. Now, first we're going to cover the raw foods. The best raw food there is an apple. Apples recover, as most of us know, 2 food, but in addition, they will also recover 2.5 points, roughly, of fullness. I don't know why that gave me 4. Oh, because I accidentally ate 2. Because of this, I now have 4 points of hunger, or 4 meat sticks here, as you can see, but in addition, I've also built up almost 5 points of fullness. And the way the game works is, first, your actions take away from your fullness, and once your fullness drops to 0, your hunger bar down here will start to shake, and once it's shaking, that means that the actual food bars that you see will start to disappear. Until your food bar starts to shake, none of those meat sticks are going to disappear. So that is an apple, and as you can see, we can run around quite a bit, and nothing really drops. So let's go down. Another point about the fullness is that even though, here, grab some of that and eat. Well, even though the fullness is separate from this, the fullness can never be higher than your food bar. So if I have here 0 food bar, that means I automatically have 0 fullness. But let's eat this raw pork chop. From the wiki, we know that it recovers 1.5. But in addition, it also recovers almost 2 points of fullness, which is not that much, but it's enough to help you get along. You can understand that the pork chops do about the same on both the visible and the invisible food bar. Now, we also have, let's see, put these over here. Stuff I've already used. Raw beef is exactly the same as the pork chops, so neither one of them provides you with any additional benefits. Raw fish, stepping into the hunger booth. Alright. Raw fish will heal 1 meat stick, but it also heals slightly over 1 point of your fullness. So again, whenever the fullness goes away, that's whenever you actually start to suffer the effects of losing. Let me cover this next. Stepping into the booth. A melon slice will heal 1 full meat stick. And actually it does exactly the same as the raw fish and the raw chicken. But unlike the raw chicken, when you eat raw chicken, the raw chicken does exactly the same amount as the meat sticks and the hunger, but it has a 1 in 5 chance of giving you food poisoning. Now, we all know food poisoning is bad, but I actually got some numbers now to demonstrate how bad. What the food poisoning does is it causes that third bar, that exhaustion meter, to become higher. In fact, it gives it 15 points. And every 4 points of hunger it causes you to lose 1 point of your fullness or 1 point of your meat stick, well, half a meat stick. So when you eat, let's eat a rotten meat. We know that rotten meat will give us 2 meat sticks, but it also gives almost 1. Oh wow, I didn't actually get poisoned that time. That's a bad example then. Go back in here. Rotten flesh has a 4 in 5 chance of actually poisoning you. And I ate 2 by accident. This is a bad example. Stop that. Hold on. Wait for the effects to end. You can see that it lasts for 30 seconds. Well, while I'm waiting for this to finish off, I'll give you the explanation for the food poisoning. Because you lose essentially 4 of your fullness and or your meat sticks through food poisoning, eating just 1 rotten flesh doesn't do you any good. And if you were eating raw chicken, eating just 1 won't do you any good anyway. So stepping in here, stepping out, eat 1. Come on, eat 1. Ah, there we go. And I still didn't get poisoned. Apparently I'm just a lucky bastard. Let's try this again. There we go. Food poisoning. Now I've gotten 2 meat sticks and I've got a little bit underneath 1 fullness. But you'll see because of the food poisoning, the fullness is going to pass away quickly. The hunger bar starts to shake, and I'm going to start losing the meat sticks at a very rapid rate. Come on, there we go. It's starting to disappear. As a result, if you find yourself in a position where you must eat the rotten flesh or anything else, you need to make sure that you are going to eat a lot of it at once, because unlike a lot of effects, food poisoning does not stack. Also, if you should find yourself food poisoned, which spider eyes have a guaranteed chance of poisoning you, they also provide only 1 meat stick, but they provide 3 points of saturation, so they're actually very filling, surprisingly enough. But let's go ahead and eat some. Now you see, I'm actually being really poisoned. This isn't food poisoning, this is real poison. If you find yourself here, let me empty out here. If you eat a bunch of the rotten meat and get food poisoning, there is a quick way of getting out of it. You just drink milk. And poof. So that's a good way of making sure that you don't end up sticking around with your food poisoning. You just eat what you gotta take, drink the milk, and you'll be good as rain. It's your milk of magnesia in Minecraft. That's a lot of M's. Continuing on, this is all your raw food. Now let's skip up to the next one where you've got your cooked foods. You have cooked fish, cooked pork chop, and cooked steak, which once again do exactly the same. So let's step back into the hunger booth. Alright. Cooked fish. See, it provides the 2.5 meat sticks. It also provides a full 6 points of saturation if you eat just 1. In this case, I ate 2, so I've got 12 points of saturation, which means I have a lot I can do before I start worrying about being exhausted. Now, stepping back into the hunger booth, going back out. You can see, eating 1, I now have 4 meat sticks, but I also have almost 13 points of saturation. So on this invisible bar, I'm up to like here, where you can see the mouse jiggling up and down. So this is good if you if you start to notice that your hunger bar is shaking, but it hasn't dropped down completely. If you eat just 2 of your cooked pork or cooked steak, your invisible hunger bar will also be completely replenished. Cooked chicken, stepping into the booth. Oh, come on. Provides 3 of the meat sticks, and it also provides a little over 7 points of fullness. So between the 2 of them, you get a pretty decent amount. If you eat about 3 chickens, you'll be completely full and almost have a complete health bar, or food bar. So, that is all the cooked foods. Oops. Last but not least, we have our manufactured foods. Stepping in. With our manufactured foods, bread actually does exactly the same amount as fish, in that it does 2.5 meat sticks and 6 points of saturation. So it's actually extremely filling. So you would actually become more full. You become full faster than you would gain health bars or food bars. So stepping back in, talking about cake. Now you can't eat cake if it's in your hands. You have to place it down and then right click on it to eat. Each click is 1 meat stick and almost 2.5 points of fullness. So that gives you a pretty decent amount that you can actually run around with. And of course, if you right click, you can keep eating the rest of it up. Now, stepping back into the booth. Cookies are by far the worst form of food you can eat, because they provide a half a meat stick, and they only provide, well, how this? 5 cookies will provide 1 point of fullness. So you have to really numb down the cookies here to get anywhere. I mean, this right here only has 1 point of fullness, but as you can see, you have 2.5 points of actual meat sticks. So that's doing you really no good. Now, cooked stew is 4 meat sticks and almost 10 points of fullness. So this is almost as good as eating a pork chop. So whenever you have if you can do this in a necessity, but if you don't have to, it's better just to leave it alone. Now, apples, if you'll recall, eating a normal apple was just 2 meat sticks and about 2.5 points of fullness. But a golden apple is 2 meat sticks and almost 10 points of fullness, the same as mushroom stew. In addition, you also get the regeneration. So for long term, a golden apple is by far superior to a red apple. Even though they only look like they offer the same amount of meat sticks, in terms of fullness, the golden apple gives you far greater amounts. Now that you understand how you can fill these bars up, now let's talk about how they can get dropped down. The game, for every 4 points of exhaustion, it takes away 1 meat stick, whether that's a real meat stick. Let me fill back up here. I'll eat no, I'm not going to eat zombie flesh. I hate zombie flesh. Let's eat steak. I like steak. I am not a vegetarian. Deal with it. Alright, I am now full up on both of those bars. Both the visible food bar and the invisible fullness bar. As a result, with this amount of fullness and food, I can go for a very long distance. Because just walking, you can walk for 400 blocks before you lose 1 point of either the invisible or the invisible meat sticks, because the invisible is always taken first. So you can walk and walk and walk forever. Now, in water, you can only swim about 2/3 of the distance that you can walk. Put simply, you can swim for 267 blocks for the same amount that you can walk or even sneak for 400 blocks. Breaking blocks does reduce your hunger level as well, so those 4 points of exhaustion are earned for breaking 160 blocks, or for every 40 blocks you're earning 1 point of exhaustion. Sprinting, you are able to sprint only 40 blocks before you're going to lose one of your invisible or visible meat sticks. So sprinting will eat up your hunger level faster than walking by far. But most folks already know that. In addition, jumping, every jump takes a significant amount. Just doing jumping 20 times will reduce 1 meat stick. If you take damage from any source, someone hits you, you fall, whatever, every source of damage increases your exhaustion as well. And for every 13 times you take damage, you're losing 1 food point, or a hunger point. Same thing as if you attack. Every time you attack, you're also doing the same amounts. You can attack 13 times and you lose a hunger point. And then there's everyone's favorite activity, the sprint jumping. Sprint jumping eats up your food and your fullness like no tomorrow. Every 5 of these jumps eats up 1 entire hunger point. So if you continue to just leap around, there are those that say that you move faster by doing this, but if so, you are spending so much food points for just a slight increase in speed. So, all in all, I'm hoping that this helps you to understand how food points are used up. As you can see, here, let me run and jump a little more. Just to, sprint and jump, there we go, until you see my meat stick start to shake, which means that I have eaten up all of my hunger. Right now I'm actually jumping underneath a structure that I've been working on in Briarwood, so that's why there's just not much to see yet. It's a work in progress. But this is a place that I knew nobody else was going to be playing around. Okay, come on, start to shake. I'm going to cut until it starts to shake. Okay, my meat sticks finally started to shake, which means at this point, if I start doing the sprint jumping, every 5 should cause 2, 3, 4, 5. 2. Okay, looks like it took about 7. Maybe I had a little bit of extra in there. You see, every time I do this, it just starts going down faster. And it only happens whenever the food bar is shaking. That means that your fullness is gone, and every action you take is going to start taking away from your actual hunger bar. Alright. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and ask that if you want to know about anything else in the game that I can possibly explain in layman's terms, please just leave a comment. Someone is asking me for information on Redstone, but I'll be honest with you, I am no expert on Redstone. I have used it, but at the same time, I'm no expert. I can ask some of the folks that I know that are good at Redstone if they would be willing to do something, and see what happens from that. But we'll see what happens. In any event, I hope you all have a nice evening, and farewell.